In the dazzling lights of Hollywood, people often only see the glamour, the perfect smiles, and the radiant beauty of stars on the red carpet. They shine so brightly that the whole world admires them. But few realize that behind the glamorous gowns, the blinding lights, and those dazzling smiles, there are secrets that are hard to believe. I discovered 13 Golden Age stars whose private lives were filled with shocking realities. They had to struggle with immense mental pressures, face secret romances, and sometimes engage in dangerous habits that no one knew about. Each story is a piece of truth that the screen has never told. When you hear them, you will never look at Hollywood through the lens of glamour alone, but also see the shadows, the pain, and the untold stories behind the lights. I have always thought of Bing Crosby as America's beloved Christmas icon, a man whose smooth voice filled homes across the country with the warmth and nostalgia of a snowy holiday. His Christmas songs, with their soft and comforting melodies, brought memories of peaceful, joyful celebrations. His charming smile, easygoing manner, and simple elegance made him seem like everyone's favorite uncle, a symbol of innocence and warmth in mid-century America. On stage, Bing Crosby embodied cheerfulness, joy, and the bright spirit of Hollywood's golden age. But when I looked closer, I realized that the carefully crafted public image was only half the truth. Behind the radiant smile and Christmas performances, Bing Crosby was a man with absolute authority over his household, strict discipline, and, at times, harsh physical punishment. Gary Crosby, his eldest son, revealed in his memoir shocking truths about life behind the doors of the Crosby household. Gary and his brothers had to live under rigid rules, enduring physical punishments and emotional coldness that left deep psychological scars. I cannot imagine that boys could be beaten even for gaining a single pound. Bing Crosby seemed to shift seamlessly between his loving father image for the public and the authoritarian figure at home. This contrast made the Crosby household terrifying. While the American audience reveled in cheerful Christmas performances, his children had to stand at attention, call him sir, and obey every order without question. Those holiday shows, where they appeared as a happy family, were actually meticulously staged performances. The public saw light, laughter, and warmth, but behind the doors of the Crosby estate, the children lived in fear and under constant pressure. I find this family tragedy deeply heartbreaking. The world believed they were witnessing a perfect family, while in reality, it was a completely different story. Bing Crosby managed his household like a military camp, while maintaining his image as the exemplary man of the family. I imagine the boys learning to stay silent, bow their heads, and live under total control. To the public, he was a star, a Christmas icon, but to his children, he was the greatest source of pressure in their lives. This duality left me both sad and astonished. A man could move an entire nation with his music, yet create silent suffering in his own home. I cannot forget the details Gary and his brothers shared about emotional coldness, perfection demanded in every aspect of family life, and the physical punishments. These rigid rules and constant discipline left lasting scars. The most frightening aspect was Bing Crosby's ability to divide his world, one side a perfect father figure, the other a tyrant at home, all executed flawlessly without anyone outside the family knowing. I feel this tragedy deeply. While America enjoyed his gentle voice every Christmas, his children experienced tension and fear. I wonder how many children grow up in glamorous households yet endure private pain unknown to the world. Bing Crosby's life taught me that the light on stage and the darkness at home can be terrifyingly different. Each story from Crosby's children is a piece of truth that Hollywood never showed. I could feel their pain, loneliness, and pressure, while the world admired the perfect family image of their father. These experiences made me see Hollywood differently. It is not just about glamour and lights, but also shadows, hidden pain, and untold stories. Finally, I realized that behind the brightest stars, there are stories no one would ever guess. Bing Crosby, with his warm voice and friendly smile, is proof that stage light does not always reflect private life. And this is what makes his personal story both tragic and thought-provoking, reminding me that every glittering fame has its own hidden darkness. I still remember the first time I saw Charlie Chaplin smile on the screen. The little tramp with his old hat, oversized shoes, and clumsy walk, yet eyes full of innocence and mischief, made it impossible to look away. On screen, he embodied joy, hope, and pure empathy. But off-screen, Chaplin's life was far more complex. Behind the laughter and applause was a man full of contradictions, with personal choices and relationships that sometimes sparked controversy, reflecting the deep differences in power and influence he held in early Hollywood. Chaplin experienced 2 marriages early in life, illustrating the power gap between him, a rising star, and his young spouses, who were navigating their own place in society. His first marriage to Mildred Harris began when she was very young and he was already a famous star. Later, he married Lita Gray, who was also in her teens at the start of their relationship. Court records from his divorce with Lita Gray reveal the power dynamics and how Chaplin leveraged fame to protect himself. At that time, Hollywood was still forming its own rules and power systems. Studios often facilitated discreet arrangements to ensure stars continued working effectively, protecting both the actor's career and the film's reputation. Archival documents show that these decisions and agreements were systematic, explaining how Chaplin maintained his position for many years. Off-screen, Chaplin faced legal challenges as well. The case involving actress Joan Barry showed that even great stars face legal and public pressures. Despite evidence largely supporting Chaplin, the court imposed obligations on him. This reflects how fame alone could not shield him from personal complications, and how the legal system and public opinion could place him in difficult positions. Looking back, Charlie Chaplin was a complex figure. He gave the world immortal characters. The Little Tramp became a global symbol of joy, innocence, and kindness. Yet his personal life was full of challenges and controversial decisions. Modern audiences admire his talent, but only seeing the surface does not reveal the hardships, contradictions, and pressures he experienced. Chaplin's films, From the Kid to City Lights, reflect his sensitivity and empathy for humanity. The Little Tramp could connect with audiences, making them laugh and cry. Personal experiences, failures, and difficult choices shaped the depth of his work. While his personal life could be controversial, his films endure, reminding us of joy, empathy, and the power of art to connect people. Chaplin exemplifies the complexity of a human being, both a creative genius and a person facing pressure, challenges, and personal contradictions. Behind the Little Tramp's smile was a man who inspires admiration and reflection on his journey. Modern audiences respect his talent but cannot ignore the complexity of the real person, understanding that behind laughter are untold stories, lessons about power, responsibility, and growth. Charlie Chaplin teaches us that art can transcend time, but humans remain full of contradictions. The Little Tramp still smiles on screen, and Chaplin's real-life stories remind us of strength, resilience, and the complexity of every life. Marlon Brando, one of the greatest actors of the 20th century, could make audiences laugh and cry alongside characters like Stanley Kowalski or Don Vito Corleone, yet his family life was as complex as a Greek tragedy. On screen, Brando embodied strength, sensitivity, and emotional depth. Off-screen, however, he was often an absent father, both physically and emotionally, as a longtime family friend once explained. Brando fathered at least 11 children with various women. But his presence in their lives was limited. He came and went according to his own rhythm, leaving gaps and instability. The children grew up with privilege and fame but lacked boundaries and guidance, creating an environment where challenges could easily arise. Christian, Brando's son, grew up in a world full of power and resources, but without consistent guidance. As he matured, these difficulties led to poor decisions and complex consequences. In 1990, Christian was involved in an incident that led to the passing of Dog Irwin, Cheyenne's half-sister's partner. The matter resulted in legal consequences for Christian. This event was only part of the series of challenges the Brando family faced. Cheyenne, who had already struggled with mental health, was deeply affected by this event. She found it difficult to participate in related legal proceedings and faced ongoing emotional pressure, which impacted her well-being. Despite receiving care and support, Cheyenne encountered many obstacles in her path to adulthood, leaving a profound sense of sadness for her family and those around her. These events had a deep impact on Marlon Brando. A family friend noted that he created a world full of wealth and fame but lacked true structure in parenting. The result was emotional gaps and a series of ongoing challenges. What makes the Brando family story particularly poignant is the contrast between artistic talent and limitations in personal life. The man who could explore profound emotions on screen seemed unable to build meaningful connections with his children. This distance, lasting for many years, resulted in losses and significant emotional voids. Brando once admitted in a rare moment of self-reflection, "I think I failed as a father. The truth is, I don't think I was a good father." Actors often aren't good fathers because they are away from home too much. This acknowledgement shows that even the greatest talents face limitations and mistakes in their personal lives. Despite the challenges in his private life, Marlon Brando left an indelible mark on cinema. His films endure, reminding us of the power of art to touch human emotions. At the same time, his real-life story serves as a reminder of responsibility, consequences, and the complexity of human experience, showing that fame and talent cannot replace presence, guidance, and love within a family. The Brando family story demonstrates that personal decisions, even unintended, can have long-lasting effects. Children raised in privilege but without guidance face many challenges on their path to adulthood. Marlon Brando's story, therefore, is both a lesson in character and a reminder of life's fragility, where artistic talent and family relationships can follow entirely different paths. Marlon Brando teaches us that a person can be a genius on screen yet still need to confront and grow within their private life. His greatness does not erase the gaps and challenges, and his family story remains a testament to the complexity, emotion, and humanity of being human. Judy Garland, a music and film icon, captured the hearts of America as Dorothy Gale in The Wizard of Oz. Her clear, youthful voice and innocent smile made audiences believe that dreams could come true, like a rainbow leading to a better place. But behind the spotlight, her childhood was shaped and controlled by pressures from the studio. At just 13, Garland was placed under strict management to maintain her figure and energy for grueling filming schedules. Amphetamines gave her vitality during the day, while sedatives were used to help her sleep at night. These substances were not for treating illness but to keep her working efficiently, turning her from a normal girl into a valuable commercial asset for the studio. MGM executives, especially Louis B. Mayer, constantly criticized her weight and any natural changes of adolescence. Internal memos referred to her as the small hunchback and outlined strategies to keep her thin at all costs. Every detail, from meals to medication to on-camera appearances, was meticulously controlled. No one asked about the long-term effects on her mental and physical health. As Garland grew up, her dependence on medication became a part of life. By 18, she was a celebrated artist but increasingly unstable physically and emotionally. Studio-employed doctors did not treat her, they managed the asset to meet schedules and business needs. Garland still performed with her clear, enchanting voice, but inside, she struggled with habits and pressures she never chose. Judy's youth was dominated by adults' decisions and Hollywood's commercial demands. As healthy and famous roles became scarce, her dependency worsened. Hospitalizations, behavioral struggles, and repeated attempts to regain control marked her adult years. Even with remarkable comebacks, she could never fully escape the cycle that began in her childhood. Her death in 1969 at age 47, officially recorded as an accident from a sedative overdose, was the final chapter of a tragedy that began early in her career. The applause and spotlight could not erase the lasting effects of a controlled childhood, unrealistic expectations, and lifelong dependency. Garland lived and sang with her heart, but she never had the chance to experience a fully normal, carefree youth. Judy Garland's life demonstrates both the power of art and the pressures young artists face. We still treasure her voice, still feel awe watching Dorothy under the rainbow, but behind that is a story of someone confronting challenges few could imagine. Garland teaches us that beauty on screen can accompany unseen struggles off screen. Her story is a lesson about care and responsibility, a reminder that human value goes beyond fame, that talent and success cannot replace love, freedom, and a normal childhood. Rock Hudson was the idealized male figure beloved by millions of Americans in the 1950s and early 1960s. Tall, handsome, and charismatic, he often appeared as the perfect man alongside stars like Doris Day. His natural charm and flawless appearance made him one of Hollywood's most valuable stars. Yet behind the spotlight, his life was a quiet tragedy that few understood. Hudson lived a meticulously constructed lie, a constant performance that caused deep personal anguish. A former employee at Hudson's studio explained that he maintained two completely separate personas: the public rock, charming and heterosexual, appearing in carefully orchestrated romantic stories, and the private rock, a gay man, who could only be himself within a tiny circle of trusted friends. This secrecy was not a personal choice but a professional necessity in an era when being gay was not only stigmatized but criminalized in many states. When Hudson signed with Universal Studios in 1949, his agent Henry Wilson understood that revealing Hudson's sexual orientation would instantly destroy his career. The studio's protective measures were meticulous. Hudson was paired with young actresses in publicized dates, captured by friendly press photographers, to reinforce his perfect gentleman image. When rumors about his sexual orientation surfaced, a convenient marriage to Phyllis Gates, Wilson's secretary, was arranged to protect his public image. This marriage lasted only 3 years, and Gates later revealed that she had no idea it was a staged arrangement when she agreed to it. The pressure to maintain this flawless facade was immense. Even at home, Hudson had to be cautious. He wondered if neighbors were watching, if someone might speak to the press, if a casual remark could destroy everything he had built. He never had a moment of true rest and could never fully be himself. Hudson's story turned even more tragic when his private life was revealed in the harshest way possible. In 1985, he became one of the first major celebrities to die from AIDS, a disease then closely associated with the gay community and surrounded by fear and misunderstanding. His death forced the public to confront the truth that this symbol of masculine perfection was, in fact, a gay man. Though the revelation came too late for Hudson to experience the freedom of living authentically, it marked a turning point in public awareness about AIDS and the cost of forcing LGBTQ individuals to hide their true selves. Rock Hudson was not only a film star but also a testament to the heavy price of living a life dictated by societal expectations. His life serves as a reminder of the importance of acceptance, personal freedom, and the profound consequences when people cannot live as their true selves. Loretta Young always appeared to the public as the ideal woman, virtuous, kind, and steadfast in the face of adversity. Her on-screen roles often portrayed women whose virtue and inner strength helped them overcome hardships. Off-screen, she was a devout Catholic, maintaining high moral standards in an industry rarely known for them. Yet behind this perfect image was a complex secret, one she would guard for decades. The story began in 1935 on the set of The Call of the Wild, where Young and Clark Gable, who was married at the time, had a brief affair. When Young discovered she was pregnant, she faced an impossible choice. A public scandal could destroy her career and reputation, while concealment demanded a lifelong deception. In the 1930s, a female actor having a child out of wedlock could end her career, especially for someone with Young's wholesome image, explained film historian Barbara Hall. Young chose the path she felt could protect both her child and her career. She disappeared from the public eye, claiming illness, and secretly gave birth to her daughter Judy on November 6, 1935. With the help of her mother and sisters, she orchestrated a meticulous plan to officially adopt her own biological daughter through a Catholic orphanage 19 months later. This deception required constant vigilance. Young feared anyone might discover the true relationship. The situation became more complicated because Judy resembled Clark Gable, especially her distinctive ears. According to the family, Young arranged for Judy to have cosmetic ear surgery at age 7 to reduce the resemblance to her famous father. She had to keep this secret not only publicly but even privately, sometimes even from distant relatives, to protect both herself and her daughter. Judy grew up calling her mother without knowing the truth. Raising her own child as an adopted daughter created a psychological complexity nearly unimaginable. The truth was only revealed to Judy in 1966, when she was 31. After hearing rumors, she confronted her mother, and Young confirmed that she was indeed her biological mother and Clark Gable her father. Young never publicly acknowledged this truth during her lifetime. She maintained the adoption story until her death in 2000. What makes her story deeply moving is how it reflects the difficult choices women faced in an era when having a child out of wedlock could ruin both career and social standing. She had to balance love, protection, and career while maintaining a flawless public image. Loretta Young's story is a testament to inner strength and resilience. She created a world to protect her daughter, shielded from society's scrutiny, and lived with a secret few could imagine. Every decision, every action, stemmed from love and responsibility, even if it meant living in deception and solitude. Upon her death, she left the image of a perfect screen actress, yet her real life was complex and full of emotion. Her choices to protect her daughter serve as lessons in maternal love, courage, and unseen sacrifices. While Hollywood saw only the glamour, behind the scenes was a story of love, secrecy, and resilience, where compassion and morality prevailed above all. When it comes to Errol Flynn, most people immediately picture the swashbuckling hero on screen, with glossy hair, a dazzling smile, and eyes that gleam with charm. On film, Flynn defined thrilling adventures, from Captain Blood to the adventures of Robin Hood, becoming a symbol of strength, courage, and a sense of justice. Audiences adored him not only for his handsome appearance but also for the way he conveyed the emotions of a man always standing on the side of righteousness. But off the stage lights, Flynn's life was complicated and shrouded in darkness. Extravagant parties, yachts, alcohol, and drugs were just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the surface lay dangerous decisions, behaviors, and habits that gradually destroyed his career, health, and reputation. The famous phrase "like Flynn," originating from his skill in navigating Hollywood's pressures and security, also carried a darker meaning. It described a life lived within constraints that both built his fame and slowly consumed him. The peak of this turmoil came in 1942, when Flynn was accused of inappropriate conduct with two young girls. The trial became a national media sensation, with dramatic debates playing out in the public eye. Flynn's lawyers successfully painted the girls as mischievous teenagers trying to exploit the star. Although Flynn was ultimately acquitted, the case exposed troubling behaviors tied to power in young girls, offering a starkly different perspective on his private life. Hollywood at the time functioned as a machine to protect star reputations, and Flynn was shielded by a network of directors, managers, and publicists. They defended his image while simultaneously allowing dangerous behaviors to continue unchecked. Flynn was celebrated on screen, but his real life was a series of challenges, pressures, and mistakes only he truly knew. As his fame began to fade, Flynn's dangerous habits worsened. Alcohol addiction and a hedonistic lifestyle gradually turned him into a shadow of his former self. Friends recalled nights of extended drinking binges, culminating in violent outbursts or moments of complete despair. The yacht Sarko, where he hosted infamous parties, became a symbol of excess, filled with alcohol, drugs, and reckless indulgence. According to multiple sources, Flynn would roam the California coastline, organizing increasingly desperate gatherings as his career declined. When he passed away in 1959 at the age of 50, his body had been severely damaged by alcohol and substance abuse. The coroner noted that Flynn's organs were worn like those of an elderly person, a stark contrast to the dashing, heroic image beloved by audiences. Errol Flynn's legacy is a mix of glory and tragedy. His on-screen image endures, but his real life serves as a lesson about the consequences of power, temptation, and dangerous choices. Flynn stands as a reminder that charm and talent cannot fully conceal the cracks in a person's life. His life teaches us that behind a star's glittering facade, private battles remain unseen by the public. Fame, power, and talent are not immune to consequences, and hidden mistakes can sometimes destroy the very person who made them. Flynn lived fully on screen, but he paid a heavy price for the choices and behaviors he embraced off camera. Mary Astor was one of the most sophisticated faces of 1930s Hollywood, adored by audiences for her intelligence, charm, and understated allure. On screen, she delivered brilliant performances in complex roles, particularly as Bridget O'Shaughnessy in The Maltese Falcon, where she faced Humphrey Bogart with sharp, captivating eyes, keeping viewers both mesmerized and tense with every scene. Her image conveyed a refinement that was both elegant and powerful, convincing audiences that Mary Astor was an icon of virtue and morality in an industry rife with pitfalls. But real life was entirely different. Mary Astor's secrets were hidden within the pages of her Purple Diary, a journal recording the intimate details of her personal life and relationships, from meetings with colleagues to private affairs with married celebrities. The scandal surrounding the diary erupted in 1936, during her bitter custody battle with her ex-husband, Dr. Franklin Thorpe. Thorpe threatened to expose her private writings as evidence in court, creating immense pressure on Mary. Those days were a nightmare for her. When parts of the diary leaked, the public reacted with outrage. The image of a refined, intelligent, and proper woman was sharply contrasted with what people read in the diary. Tabloid reports detailed her affairs and sexual encounters, seriously threatening Mary's reputation. The incident has been compared to a 1930s version of a modern celebrity sex tape scandal. What made the scandal particularly damaging was that it revealed Mary's natural desires and urges, things considered scandalous for women at the time. Her entries about her relationship with playwright George S. Kaufman and other affairs were reportedly extremely detailed, far exceeding the social norms of the era. Although the court later ruled the diary inadmissible as evidence, most of the public only knew about it through rumors and sensational articles, but the damage to Mary's image and career was real. Initially, MGM executives wanted to terminate her contract and remove her from ongoing projects. Mary's career seemed on the verge of collapse. But director William Wyler, working with her on Dodsworth, defended her, refusing to replace her and keeping her in the role. Thanks to her outstanding performance in the film and Wyler's support, Mary gradually regained her reputation, though in the following years she had to live under constant pressure, carefully monitoring every action and word. Mary Astor's diary scandal serves as a clear example of how Hollywood and society at the time applied double standards for men and women. A man with private affairs could largely escape judgment, while a woman's career could be destroyed by a single misstep. Mary faced the painful truth that even with exceptional talent and dedication, just one mistake or misunderstanding could end everything. Her subsequent life and career became a journey of resilience, rebuilding her image, regaining public trust, and proving that a woman could assert control over her destiny even in Hollywood's harshest era. Although the original diary was ordered destroyed by the court, its impact lingered, serving as a reminder that skill, intelligence, and courage are never wasted when confronting scandal and societal expectations imposed on women. Mary Astor survived the media storm, using her talent and intellect to create a legacy that Hollywood could not erase. Her on-screen presence, sophisticated, intelligent, and strong, remains etched in the minds of audiences, and the story of her Purple Diary stands as a testament that even the most accomplished individuals must face deeply complex personal challenges. Jerry Lewis, the iconic comedian and complex father figure, was a familiar face to the American public for decades. On stage and on screen, he was the prince of slapstick, a wildly funny performer whose antics brought laughter to countless viewers. His films and annual muscular dystrophy telethons raised billions for children across the country, proving he was not just an entertainer but a devoted humanitarian. Yet, as his sons revealed, his compassion rarely extended to his own family. Gary Lewis, the eldest son and leader of Gary Lewis and the Playboys, described his father as a man of dual nature, warm and caring to the outside world, yet cold and distant at home. Gary and his 5 brothers, Ronald, Scott, Christopher, Anthony, and Joseph, grew up with a father who was physically present but emotionally unavailable. They lived under strict rules, where even minor actions could lead to punishment, and addressing him as sir was mandatory. While Jerry Lewis raised over $2.6 billion for other children, a painful truth remained hidden from the public: he had a daughter no one knew about. In the early 1960s, Susan Lewis Might was born from a relationship with model Lynn Dixon. Lewis never publicly acknowledged Susan, but DNA tests later confirmed the biological link. Susan grew up financially struggling, watching her famous father raise money for his other children while refusing to recognize her existence. When Susan reached adulthood and attempted to connect with her father, she was met with rejection. He refused to meet her, acknowledge her publicly, or within the family. Susan told reporters, "The cruelest irony was watching him cry on television for children he never knew, while pretending I had never existed." She emphasized that he could have given her a small portion of his wealth, but instead chose to ignore the truth. Jerry Lewis's life is a story of contradiction between public image and private reality. A man who shone on stage, captivated millions, and raised enormous funds for children could not show genuine affection to his own biological children. This complex relationship left a deep imprint on the family, where distance, strictness, and occasional cruelty became a psychological legacy. The story took an even darker turn with his will. Jerry died in 2017 at 91, officially excluding his 6 sons from his first marriage from inheritance. His estimated $50 million estate went to his second wife, Sandy Pitnick, and their adopted daughter, Danielle. A longtime associate of the comedian revealed that Lewis took this grudge to the grave. Yet, his comedic and charitable legacy endures. The story of his unacknowledged children serves as a reminder that behind the dazzling spotlight, complex family relationships and private pain can exist silently. Family and emotional bonds are challenges even the biggest stars cannot escape, and in Jerry Lewis's case, they left a mark both tragic and controversial on the true nature of the man. Jean Tierney was the embodiment of elegance, intelligence, and understated charm in 1940s Hollywood. On screen, she captivated audiences with her complex performances, particularly in Laura and the Razor's Edge, where her piercing gaze held viewers in a delicate balance of fascination and tension. Public perception painted her as a flawless, refined, and moral woman, seemingly in complete control of her life in an industry riddled with pitfalls. Yet reality was far from the silver screen. A seemingly small and random event would alter Tierney's life forever, transforming her from a radiant star into a mother grappling with profound loss and hardship. The tragedy began in 1943, when Tierney was pregnant with her first child, Daria. Despite advice to avoid crowds due to the rubella epidemic, she attended military support events at Hollywood, a common practice among stars. A female fan, infected with rubella at the time, broke isolation to meet Tierney. Unbeknownst to her, this brief encounter would lead to her daughter being born severely disabled, blind, deaf, and cognitively impaired. Tierney only learned the devastating truth years later when the fan revealed the circumstances of their encounter. She was shocked and silent, turning away with a physical sense of injury. This revelation triggered a prolonged psychological trauma. Raising a severely disabled child while maintaining a career proved to be an unprecedented challenge, leaving her with guilt, helplessness, and profound loneliness. Tierney's life was marked by depression and psychological strain. She was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, underwent multiple hospitalizations, and endured harsh electroconvulsive therapy, which impacted her memory and cognitive abilities. Her career was nearly derailed, and she had to rebuild stability with appropriate treatment and the support of her second husband. Daria spent most of her life in specialized care facilities. Tierney rarely spoke publicly about her daughter, respecting her privacy and protecting the family's image. Their story starkly illustrates the rigid standards imposed on women by Hollywood and society. A seemingly small choice by someone else, a random moment, could have lifelong repercussions, not only for the child but also for the mother. Tierney's later life and career were a testament to resilience, regaining her public trust, and restoring personal balance. She overcame dark years with intelligence, courage, and self-control in the face of scandal and tragedy. Her image endures on screen, strong, refined, and intelligent, with Daria's story serving as a reminder that even random moments can shape a person's destiny. Dennis Hopper was a man who was impossible to confuse with anyone else, the embodiment of wildness and unpredictability. On screen, he created unforgettable moments, from Rebel Without a Cause to Easy Rider and Apocalypse Now, where his intensity held audiences enthralled and fearful at the same time. But what viewers saw was just the surface. Behind the camera was a man whose erratic behavior and explosive temper made even those closest to him uneasy. A producer who worked with Hopper in the 1970s once compared collaborating with Dennis to handling nitroglycerin. He was a genius, creative and extraordinarily talented, yet at any moment, everything around him could explode. Hopper's most notorious period began after the unexpected success of Easy Rider, which gave him unprecedented power in Hollywood. On his next project, The Last Movie, Hopper was granted full creative control. He retreated to Peru with a production team, carrying enough substances to turn the set into an almost hallucinatory world. According to surviving crew members, Hopper often carried a loaded gun on set, fired it randomly during scenes, and threatened anyone who questioned his increasingly incoherent direction. Fueled by cocaine, alcohol, and other drugs, he could stay awake for days, make impulsive decisions, change his mind midstream, and force the team to scrap previous work. On some days, he even buried himself in a coffin to prepare for a scene, emerging hours later dirty, disoriented, and shouting commands that contradicted the work done earlier. His extreme behavior led major studios to blacklist him for nearly a decade, closing off many creative opportunities. Hopper's substance abuse escalated to the point where he later admitted consuming half a gallon of rum, 28 cans of beer, and 3 grams of cocaine daily. Coupled with paranoia, he became dangerous. Even in his personal life, he left a complicated mark. His 8-day marriage to Michelle Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas reportedly ended with Hopper handcuffing her to prevent her from leaving, believing she was part of a conspiracy against him. Other relationships followed similar patterns of control and instability. Hopper's salvation came through a rehab program in 1983. His sobriety allowed his career to undergo a remarkable revival. He returned to the screen with outstanding performances in Blue Velvet and Speed, proving his talent and creativity remained intact. Yet those who worked with him during his dark period never forgot the experiences. Even after successfully quitting substances, Hopper carried a weariness and the imprint of his past. A director who collaborated with him in the 1990s remarked that, though back to work, Hopper remained a man both creative and vulnerable, enigmatic and unpredictable. Hopper's legacy stands as a testament to the ultimate complexity of a genius, mesmerizing, terrifying, and a living proof of both human strength and fragility. Ben Stiller is a comedian whose public persona is largely defined by his endearing, clumsy, and self-deprecating humor. On screen, his characters often stumble through life, facing small mishaps with charm and subtle emotional moments. His films typically portray him as the underdog, an ordinary person striving to navigate a world constantly testing his dignity, which has endeared him to audiences as relatable and likable. Yet behind the spotlight, the reality was strikingly different. Those who worked closely with Stiller describe an extreme perfectionist, a man whose idea of excellence was not only high but rigidly enforced. Assistants, cinematographers, and crew members recall a tense, fearful environment on set where no one dared contradict or challenge him. Mistakes, no matter how minor, could trigger intense criticism. A veteran cinematographer explained that while perfectionism can make a director meticulous, Stiller's approach often crossed into overbearing. He could remain silently cold and distant for days, only to erupt suddenly in anger, shouting at those around him. Crew members quickly learned that survival meant anticipating Stiller's expectations and avoiding even the smallest errors. Assistants recounted seemingly trivial incidents escalating into dramatic confrontations. One recalled walking past Stiller every day for 14 weeks without acknowledgement, only for him to explode because she was 5 minutes late returning from lunch, berating her before the entire crew. It was the only direct interaction they had throughout filming. What made these accounts striking was how starkly they contrasted with Stiller's public image. In interviews, he presented himself as humble, considerate, and grateful, often praising collaboration in filmmaking and acknowledging those who helped him succeed. Even co-stars occasionally hinted at the difficulties of working with him, but few spoke openly. Anonymous comments from actors who worked with him reveal that Stiller's controlling tendencies extended even to fellow performers, particularly those with less influence. Off-camera, laughter and freedom ceased, leaving everyone on edge. One supporting actor from a successful Stiller comedy said that he instilled constant caution and anxiety in those around him. The public, however, only sees Ben Stiller on screen, the lovable, clumsy, occasionally irritable, yet charming figure. They are unaware that beneath that comedic smile lies strict control, uncompromising demands, and an invisible pressure affecting everyone nearby. Ben Stiller's story demonstrates the contrast between public image and the realities of a film set. It reminds us that even the most admired, talented, and beloved figures harbor hidden aspects that only those working closely witness. It is not merely about strictness or perfectionism, but about how power, talent, and pressure can create an environment where every step must be taken cautiously. Chevy Chase, to the public, is a comedic icon, a pioneering star of Saturday Night Live, known for his deadpan delivery, physical comedy, and precise timing. Films like Caddyshack, Fletch, and the Vacation series entertained millions, establishing him as a confident, daring, and witty figure. He became an emblem of 1980s comedy, admired and emulated by many. But behind the spotlight, the reality was strikingly different. Those who worked with him recall an instant shift in atmosphere whenever he appeared. The temperature on set seemed to drop. Chevy did not build camaraderie or playfully engage with colleagues. He scrutinized everyone and everything, and his dissatisfaction was palpable when something displeased him. A veteran SNL writer said that in his 40 years in the industry, he had never seen anyone destroy so many professional relationships as Chevy did. From co-stars to directors and even the smallest crew members, most kept their distance, some openly despised him. This reputation started during his early SNL days, where arrogance and a difficult attitude created tension among young cast members. Chase returned to host SNL multiple times, each appearance increasingly controversial. In the 1985 to 1986 season, he suggested a sketch involving weighing an openly gay cast member to check for AIDS, a proposal that horrified writers. His behavior worsened as his film career declined in the 1990s and 2000s, with stories of verbal abuse, racist remarks, and on-set altercations following him from project to project. Even his brief return to TV comedy in 2009 brought his notorious reputation to a new generation. Donald Glover revealed Chase had made racist comments to him, suggesting he was funnier because he was black. Other actors corroborated that Chase frequently issued insulting remarks, then dismissed them, as if overly sensitive and refusing accountability. A director who worked with Chase remarked that there was something deeply sad about him. Like a perpetually insecure 13-year-old, Chevy belittled others to feel superior. He seemed genuinely surprised when people refused to work with him. SNL creator Lorne Michaels, rarely critical, once said, "He made comedy dangerous, but not in a positive way." This perfectly captured the experience many had with Chase. The 2018 Netflix special Saturday Night highlighted this contrast. While original cast members shared warm memories and decades-long friendships, Chevy appeared isolated, bitter, and distant. His segments underscored that behind the laughter was a man whose humor often harmed rather than united. Chevy Chase exemplifies the stark contrast between public image and professional reality. To audiences, he was a master of comedy, a clever, entertaining figure. To those who worked closely with him, he was controlling, difficult, and sometimes cruel. His story reminds us that even the most talented and famous harbor dark sides, and creative environments can be warped by personality, power, and pressure. The lives of Golden Age stars were not just about glamour, stage lights, or iconic roles. Behind the smiles and applause lay secrets, tragedies, and choices that came with a heavy price. Looking back at the stories of these 13 stars, we see that fame can be a double-edged sword, bringing glory while quietly sowing pain. Their lives remind us that behind the perfection of a legend is a real human being with emotions, flaws, and desires. If you want to discover more shocking secrets from Hollywood, make sure to hit like and subscribe so you won't miss the next video.